The question every Ricoh GR3 owner or potential owner has right now, besides when the GR4 is going to come out, is do you go HDF or do you go ND? I have them with me on this table. Let's talk about that right now. Okay, guys, with that said, big thanks to Ricoh Singapore for providing the HDF cameras. I have my own GR3X here. My thoughts only. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. When I first got the HDF cameras and I tried it out, I'm like, okay, it's like having a Pro Mist filter on the camera. It's simple like that, right? The performance out of these now, all the software is updated on each of them, so they're very fast. If you've not tried the Ricoh GR3 since it was launched a few years ago, Ricoh has really updated these cameras. You owners, you know it. They've added features to it, performance. It is a much better camera system than when it first launched, okay? With that said, though, we already know that. The film simulations or the recipes and all the things you can do, the colors, it's fantastic. You have so many options with these cameras. They are small. If you're someone that likes a little bit of a bigger camera system, like me personally, I love this camera for the compactness, but I do like an EVF. I do like it a little bit bigger. I kind of wish they would make a GR film camera, but in digital. That's just me personally. I know they had, the GR1 and GR2 was a little bit different, but that's just me. I took the Ricoh GR3 HDF with me to Scotland. Now, I was there for a launch of a whiskey called Wildmore. It's a new premium blended whiskey from William Grant & Sons, and I was out there to capture and take photographs and video and to document my experience. And so this is one of the cameras I brought with me. And I brought the 3 versus the GRIIX because I wanted something a little bit wider in terms of focal length. Because it's Scotland, mountains and hills, you want to capture those things. But I also wanted the HDF because I wanted to capture a little bit of that romanticism that diffusion filter could give me. Okay. And my friend of mine, Casey Ang here in Singapore, tried the GR3X, and I'll also show you some of those images as well, the HDF version, but he tried it with different film simulations or formulas, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. My experience with, is this the 3? Yes, 3 HDF. They all look the same. I was pleasantly surprised by the performance of it. That was one thing. Love the autofocusing, much faster. Face detection, all that was great. The HDF is quite heavy. It's quite heavy on the diffusion. So it works well in situations. Candlelight, if you want to capture light coming through the window or in the mountains, everything looks a little bit more mistier, a little bit more film-esque. It works well. It softens up the face on people so they look a little bit more pleasing to the eye. Because Ricoh, as we know, if you don't know this, you don't own a Ricoh camera system, the lenses are fantastic, but they're very, very sharp. Very sharp, right? Unforgivingly sharp, which is a good thing. So the diffusion filter kind of cuts that a little bit, makes it a little bit more inviting, especially if you're going to be shooting females or males who maybe don't have the best skin. This is going to soften that all up, right? That's a good thing. But you have no control over how much diffusion it gives you. It's on or it's off. And sometimes it's a little bit heavy-handed. And you only know this by trying it and then trying without it. Then you go, okay, I'd rather have it without it. So usually what I was doing, I was taking 2 photos. Sometimes taking it with HDF, then I would take the same photo without HDF to see the difference. And sometimes it's subtle, and other times it's like, okay, that's a bit much. Now, with this camera, you do not get the ND filter inside of it. Obviously, it's a small lens. They can fit one or the other, right? When you go to the standard GR3 or GRIIX, you get the ND filter. And that comes in handy, especially because the shutter speed on these cameras aren't the fastest. So if you want to shoot wider open, let's say at 2.8 respectively, the ND filter helps cut that, so it allows you to, shoot wider open in brighter daylights or brighter light situations. Whereas with the HDF, you don't have that option. So you're gonna have to stop down the aperture. It's not a deal breaker. Again, these are small compact camera systems. It's more about, capturing the moment. It's not always about depth of field. These are smaller lenses, right? But it is something to take notice of. And it depends on your type of photography. Me, I like to capture people more so than landscapes. I like to capture moments with people involved. So I was back and forth on this because I do like having a little bit more depth of field, and that's where the ND filter comes into play, especially in daylight. but I do like how the images look out of this. Now, I know you can buy external filters for this camera system, and some people say, well, you get a little bit of a reflection without the filters. This is inside the lens. You're going to remove some of that. I get it. I understand it. But the argument to be had with that is you can choose how much diffusion you want when you put an external filter on the front of the camera or the lens. Versus this, you don't have a choice. You can turn it off, turn it on, but you can't go in between. That's one thing. Another thing is you can obviously adjust your image with the non-HDF in Lightroom or Capture One to give you that misty look if you don't have a filter. Drop the clarity, drop the texture, add a little bit of dehaze, or bring it down a little bit, and it now looks very reminiscent to this. Not exactly, but it adds a little bit. It's very close, okay? It's enough to where you put on social media, the average person wouldn't know the difference. So with that argument put out there, which one should you go for? If you are someone who loves a softer image all the time, you've tried the Ricoh system, you're like, it's just too sharp for me, I don't like it. I know I'm gonna use this filter more times than not, go HDF. If you are someone that's like, look, I want a sharp image, but I also like having an ND because maybe I want to shoot a little bit of video sometimes, and the ND helps, or I'm going to be shooting in situations where I want to be more creative with my shutter, and the ND allows me to have that and also have a faster aperture, then go this. And you can always adjust the image in Lightroom, Capture One, or whatever software you're using to give you that misty look. If it was me, I would stick with the standard one because I can manipulate the images I want to in software to give me this look. And I have the choice of how much I want to diffuse. Versus this, I don't have the choice. This is nice. It's an interesting addition to the camera system. But I think personally for me, I would stick with the standard GR3 or GR3X respectively. And I would just either buy an external filter or just fix it in post because I now have more control. And it does leave a question is, was there a desire from photographers out there banging on Ricoh's door to say, we want a diffusion filter? Were companies selling so many Pro Mist filters out there for the GR3 system that Ricoh says, look, let's just make an HDF version? I mean, this is a lot of engineering that comes into play. I mean, I would love to talk to someone at Ricoh and say, why make this decision? Who knows? But the big question we all have is, when is the GR4 coming out? Will it come back out with a flash? I would love to have an EVF. I personally, for me, sidestepping a little bit, I like to go back to the Ricoh film-esque style, a little bit larger, a little bit viewfinder, because I like a viewfinder. My eyesight's not great looking at a screen like this. Viewfinder, flash, wow, chef's kiss. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, more content on the way. And if you want to pick up one of these cameras, use one of my affiliate links in the description because that does help me out a lot and it costs no extra for you, but help me support this channel. Would appreciate that. Stay safe and I'll chat to you very, very soon. Take care.